Hello, hello, hello. We were talking on the live stream that I do on my other channel about AI and whatnot. And I was talking about how you can use AI to clean up and modernize. And I don't mean like turn it into CD, but enhance old recordings. And it got me thinking. And that's what we're doing with this. I don't know if this is going to be copyright claimed. It might be copyright claimed, and if it is, don't forget to like and subscribe and watch the adverts. But it got me thinking, and I went to my record collection and I thought, what I'll do is I will get this record. It's called. It's a very old single. Well, when I say old, I think it's from the. If it's from the 1962, it's old for me. It's George Chisholm and his Jazz Gang and In a Persian Market. One of my grandfather's favourite songs. And when he died and I moved out, instead of taking all the records with me, I have a rule. Always take one thing that means a lot. So I took this, and it's got the glowworm on the back, which great stuff. So I thought, well, what I'll do, this is in mono. It's a bit crackly. It's a bit clicky. We're not concerned about that so much in this. This isn't about cleaning it up, but this is about taking a mono recording using Logic Pro. And again, I've already loaded it in there. And using the stem splitter. Now, the stem splitter in Logic and a lot of these other DAWs, digital audio workstations, are AI. They're AI tools. This is like the positive side of AI. Everyone's railing against AI at the moment, but these tools are AI derived, and it allows you to put in a recording like this and to pull it out its component parts. So, it will separate the drums, the bass, the guitars. There's a little bit of piano in this, but it's hardly worth mentioning. It doesn't really make a big deal of this. And you've got the trumpets and sax. I think sax or clarinet. Trumpets and clarinet, I think it is. So it gives you those component parts, and it allows you to, well, lay them out as you so wish. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little listen to the original, and then we're going to, I'm going to show you what I did with the various bits. I'm putting on the headphones of shame, so you'll be joining me with this or not. I do not know. So yeah, let's solo the original mono mix, and here we go. Well, you get the idea of it. It's your standard trad jazz. Now I loaded this into Logic, and it split the stems for me. And like I said, it's turned it into drums, bass, guitar, which is more. I think it might be ukulele. It sounds a bit more at the upper register. There's a tiny bit of piano, but it's very what can I say, distorted, and under other it's actually like trumpet and clarinet. So we'll break that down. I'll play the individual parts for you. So this is the drums. Now what I've done with these drums is, well, first of all, I'll turn off what I've done first, so you can hear the naked stem, as it were. that gives you an idea of that. Now, what we do with this is I tend to use I go through it and I kind of shape the sound using the tools that I have. So first of all, I tend to add some compression. Just use the classic drums setting, and it's the compressor that you find within Logic Pro, and that will immediately give the drums a little bit more presence. As you can hear, a bit more presence. Then what I do then is I use it's an Isotope Ozone Imager app, and what this does is it allows you to kind of stereofy whatever you run it through, and you can adjust it here, and it just gives the drums a little bit more presence. Just a little bit more presence, and then with that add a bit of reverb. In this instance it's clean, big room, and again it just makes it sound like the drums are in an actual room. So there we go, rather than it be wherever. Don't worry, it will come together. It doesn't sound too much, and what I tend to do at the end is just use a little bit of EQ, but that's when everything is mixed down, just to adjust the frequencies of each element so that they fit together nicely. Then we have the bass. Now, what I tend to do with the bass in all of these things, the basses can be very ill-defined. So what I tend to use is the binaural panner to bring it really central to the mix, just pull it in. And again, add a compressor. This is what it sounds just like in its binaural state. And it's upright bass. Again, doesn't sound like much at the moment, because what we need to do is add some compressor to that to bring it out, and that will make it a little bit louder. Again, it's a bit ill-defined. Boost the EQ, give it a bit of bass and treble boost, and then use a little bit of reverb. I'm just using the default reverb on this, that's the default setting in Chromaverb, just to make it sound, you know, like it's in a room. It sounds like this. Sounds like an upright bass, but with a little bit of reverb in it. So there we go. Then we've got the what they call the guitar section, but I think it's more ukulele than anything else. I've panned it to the left because, again, all this stuff was like in the center of the mix, and it sounds without the again, I had compressor, EQ, and a bit of reverb. Without that, it sounds like this. It's a very percussive sound, but I've panned it to the left just so it can step out, you know. I'm creating a kind of jazz orchestra, so it doesn't sound like much like that, but then when we add compressor, a little bit of channel EQ and a bit of reverb, lifts it a bit. again, these stems aren't perfect because it's AI. There's going to be artifacts there. There's going to be some weird fritzing, but again, when you pull this all together, it should kind of meld back. So you've got to ignore some of that artifacting that you hear, and then finally you have the main melodic component of the tune, which is the trumpet and the clarinet. I don't think it's saxophone on this, and that sounds like this. This is without any additional stuff at the moment. This is just a naked pound it a little bit to the right. Now that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good as is, That's pretty neat as is. But I'm going to add some of the ozone imager to give it a little bit more stereo presence, EQ it a bit just to pull out some of the frequencies, and of course add a little bit of reverb to that, and then that sounds like this. Again, all I want to do is make it sound like it's in a room, like it's present, rather than it being just one microphone. I want it to sound like that there are like two microphones and there is this jazz band playing. That's all I'm aiming for. I'm not trying to do anything too crazy with the mix. I'm not trying to, go completely stereo. I just want to transform it from something that's wholly mono into something that feels like you're in the room with it, and using your two ears rather than your one ear. And again, good mono recordings, if you're listening to one speaker, one a mono source as it were, it's going to sound fine. But you're listening on headphones, I find mono recordings that can be a little bit overwhelming. In this case, it's just very in your face. So I've done all that, and I've added I had a little bit of declick at the mastering stage at the stereo out, and some and that's it, and some tape stuff just to kind of pull the mix together. So this is what that sounds like in this kind of pseudo stereo mix now. So that's what it sounds like. Probably put a little bit too much reverb. I did this in the early hours of the morning. I've probably put just maybe a little bit too much reverb on that. Maybe I can turn that. Maybe it's a little bit too wet. Turn that down a bit. So yeah, that's what you've got with this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the magic of editing. We're going to jump from the mono mix to my pseudo stereo mix and back again. And again, it's just a bit of fun. The original is the original. That's fine. But I just wanted to show you, what you can do with AI, as it were, with AI tools, the AI tools that are available to you. And of course, there are recordings that are in worse condition. There were people that say this is sacrilege. Yeah, but you've still got the mono. I'm just trying to revive something, make it sound a bit more, like you were there. That's what I'm trying to do with this. So again, it's a fun little exercise to play with. I think it's good. I think it's a good exercise for you to find like an old recording like this and do this, because it will give you an idea of instrument placement. You know, you can use this and think, because again, what I've done is I've offset the drums slightly to the left, the ukulele slightly further to the left, and the trumpet and clarinet, you know, slightly right. So it gives a sound stage, you know, like, and of course the bass is in the middle. So you can imagine that. You can imagine the drums slightly there. You can imagine the ukulele's there, the bass player's there, and you know, as you'd see it on stage. Of course, it might be different to that, but I'm being creative. I'm playing around with it. But I think again, it's something you can use to learn how to mix. You know, you can take an existing mono recording, load the stems in, have fun with it, you know, try and stereoize it, if you want to call it, and you know, it just gives you an idea of how these components mix together. And again, EQ is very important. I think EQ is one of the biggest tools that you can use in your own mixing. And again, this allows you to adjust the frequencies of each instrument so they cut through, so that they sit well in the mix. And yeah, and that's it really. That's what I've been doing, and I'm going to now let the two versions play out. And hopefully you found this video interesting and a bit of fun. And again, it shows you that not all AI is evil. Some of it can be used, you know, to create interesting things, you know, to revive old recordings. And I think this is where the future of AI is. Again, imagine taking a very, very old recording, an old classical recording, it loading it into an AI model, and it then recreating the orchestra, and then you load in an AI reverb model, and it recreates the actual auditorium where it was originally recorded in, and you'd be able to feel like you're sitting there. That's what AI should be used to be, you know, doing. We should be using it for things like that, you know, reclaiming and rediscovering old recordings that are, you know, that are quite primitive by today's standards. Again, I know a lot of people are a fan of mono. We got two ears. We hear everything in stereo. I think mono is great if you're, you know, in the car, or, you know, you had that technology at the time. But we have two ears for a reason. And so I think this is an interesting and worthwhile game to play. And that's the video. I'll now play out, but I'll also say ta-ta, enjoy the tunes.